Hello and welcome to episode number 4 of the new show here on TVC 22 called In the Wards. We're out here on Clarence Island today to speak to a councillor for ward number 4, Mr Ton Bouchard. Councilor Bouchard, thank you very much for joining us.
Thomas, always a pleasure, my friend.
Knee deep in the snow today as well, we have committed.
This is a great spot. I mean, many people in Clarence-Rockland have no idea this spot actually exists. And I mean, it's cool in the winter, you see the ice fishing around, and in the summer, it's a great place to come with the kids, throw some rocks in the water and just have a picnic. It's a great place.
Yeah, before we even go on to it, let's talk a little bit about your ward and about the location. So where exactly is I'm sure everybody does kind of know, but talk to us about Clarence Island, where it is and the importance of it to the area.
Well, we're really on the east side. So I mean, if you're, we do have a piece that's in Morris Village, and we'll get out there later. But it comes all the way out to Ramage Road, all the way up to Clark Road. So it's interesting because it's one of those half and half wards, and it's the only one that exists like that, where half of it is really much in Rockland itself, and the other half is really out more in the Clarence Point area. So you really have a mix of the two. Some have water and sewers, and the rest are on septic and wells. So there's a bit of a difference between about half the residents in the ward.
Yeah, I'll have to pop down and actually see it in the summer with the actual water out there, as I'm still getting used to the idea that you come down next to a body of water and it just looks like land anyway. But I do believe I beat you in the race as we jogged over here earlier.
It was close, it was close, it was good, you did well.
So we're here obviously at the start of this to talk about your, I just want to touch upon your time as a councillor. So if we draw it back to the beginning, when did you first run for municipal election?
This is my first time around, so the last election, 2018, that's when I ran, and it was a good race. We had 3 candidates, and it was a good race. I really enjoyed getting to go door to door. Really did pretty much every single door in the ward and really got out there. So it was really good and very rewarding in the end.
Were you on your own going door to door? Did you have any company coming along with you?
Yeah, basically what I did is, I mean, I've lived in Rockland since 1989, so I have a lot of people that I know around. So basically, whenever we got into different areas, I'd get like one of my friends that lives in that neighborhood, and we go around the neighborhood with that person. And then when we change neighborhoods, then I'd go with someone else who was in that neighborhood, and we go around. So, so you have a familiar face that people are going around, go with neighbors and whatnot, and talking. So it was good that way.
And what inspired you to run for election for council? Were you wanting to change up the system? Were you thinking that you could benefit? What really pushed you to put your name in the hat?
I'll be honest, like my love for politics goes back a really long way. I'm from a bit of a political family as well, and even back in high school, I went to Forum for Young Canadians, and I want to plug it in because it's a great organization that basically you go for a week on Parliament Hill, and you spend a week there, you meet your MP, at breakfast with the senators and all that. Really got me interested in politics there. And I do have an undergrad in human kinetics, but I also have one in political science. And I was a page in the Senate for 2 years right on Parliament Hill, so this whole love of politics has been around for a long time. And then there's timing, there's getting married, having kids, and then what am I going to do? And I eventually came to that point where he said, you know what, I really do want to make a difference. I've been living in my community for a really long time, and I work for Parks and Rec at the city as well too. And I said, there's so many things that we can do in this municipality. And I said, that's it. Instead of just talking about it, let's just go out there and do it. And I think we're doing a really good job with it.
Well, I was going to say, it was so surprising to hearing all of that you hadn't run before, but timing obviously is so important. Asking this question to all the councillors, because obviously being on a municipal council isn't your everyday 9 to 5. There is a lot of other work done in your professional and personal life. So can you talk to us a little bit about who Ton Bouchard is outside of the council? What do you do for a living?
I'm a college professor. I teach at Cité right in Ottawa, and I used to, when I started to work there, I was Parks and Recreation prof, so leaving from the city, working Parks and Rec to teaching Parks and Rec. And then that job actually evolved into teaching into social work now. So I'm a full-time professor in social work. I did a lot of the specialization in gerontology. So which is fun because now being able to place students Sorry.
No, it's quite all right.
Being able to place students out in Roger Seguin, so having students that are able to go there and just coming back into the community and be able to help out there. So yeah, so that's my other life there. There's another part of me that's also the soccer coach. I used to be the technical director here for Rockland United Soccer. I coach with the Ottawa Fury as well. So I mean, a lot of different interesting things. But the other big job I think that I do is father of 3 beautiful children. My kids are awesome. Liam's 8 years old, Elsa is 6, almost 7, and little Ellie is 4 years old. So
fantastic!
That's
They must be a handful.
They're great, though. To be honest with you, they're just a great bunch of kids. Really love them.
All right. I mean, I am disgruntled that you called it soccer and not football. There's a big part of me inside that died slightly. But talking on your professional life at the moment, is that something, that social work, that always working within your municipality and for your community, is that what always drove you? Is that something you always wanted to do?
Absolutely, and it's one of those things right now that is so rewarding, being in the classroom, being able to tell the students to say, listen, social change is very important. Being able to stand up and being able to say, we want to change things, we want to do better. And what better example as a faculty member can I give than to say, hey, well, not only do I talk, not only do I tell students that that's what they should do, well, I actually got up and I ran myself and looking for social change myself. So, I mean, I find it's great being able to influence today's youth and really trying to get them riled up and saying, hey, it's possible. You just need to get up and go out there and do something.
And you've touched on it there, and the parallels are almost so obvious that the question's a little bit silly. But tell me a little bit how your professional life influences yourself as a councillor.
Oh, it's back and forth in one way and the other. And I mean, from examples in the classroom, telling them, it's like, well, at council this week, we were discussing about this. Whereas, you were discussing social housing, a whole. How do you deal with youth? We talked about cannabis, being introduced in society now, and it is social work. So how does that lay out, and how do us as policymakers limit or want to control the number of stores that we have in our municipality? So there's always a mix back and forth with both professional aspects, and I think it just makes you that much more credible as a person. So I really enjoy the balance from both.
So you're in your 3rd year now of your first term. What kind of effect do you feel like this council has managed to have on the municipality in the last 3 years? Obviously very difficult, with 12 months of life almost put on hold and solely focused on the pandemic. But how would you rate what you've managed to accomplish so far, and what are you hoping to accomplish in the next 12 to 24 months?
Well, it's been a crazy time because we started off with the flood right when we got in, and now with COVID being here as well. But I find that this council's been good. I think our first budget was probably a little tougher and just trying to get things a little more organized. But I think the last 2 budgets that we've done, I really think we put money in the right places and whatnot. Part of the main thing that I wanted to get, and that's unfortunately COVID put a little hinder on there, was to try to put Clarence-Rockland a little more on the map and to have actual, real shows for entertainment, having, big name artists coming down, play at the Optimus Hall. And that's one of the things we were able to get is to get council to approve a budget to have a company come in and run programming for the municipality. Now, unfortunately, as we were about to book our first 5 shows here, then COVID entered, and so now it's how are we going to do this? But to me, it was really about, okay, what can we do? And we've seen with the River Festival, I mean, we have a lot of success there. We do get some big name artists that come out as well. And I mean, it's a family-oriented place here, right? And that's what you want to have. You want to make sure that we are doing things for families around here. And the Alain Potvin Park, I mean, is a great spot to be the skating, the sledding, and all that. So I honestly think that as a council, we're working well together. I mean, there's not much fighting on board. There's always good arguments. I find that everyone has a very different background. There isn't too many copy-paste from one councillor to the next, and I think it's great. It adds to the debate, and it also just has people have different views on there, So I really think we are moving in the right direction, and I'm really hoping that once COVID is solved, that we're able to get more shows and get more people out and get economic development going. So by getting more people in here, getting more businesses in, that's the big thing. I mean, I did a lot during my campaign about doing stuff for families and for economic development as well. And we've hired a resource for economic development as well. So that's the one more step that we have now in Clarence-Rockland as well too. So moving forward, I think those are all great news for residents.
Fantastic. And if we're looking as a personal ambition side of things, with things being a little bit on hold, do you think you'll put your name in the hat again? Is it too early to decide?
Oh, I can definitely guarantee you that I'll be running again. So that's very, very important to me. I think I've really enjoyed what I've started to do, and I think that you need to get in there at least for a second term to really get comfortable and really get in there to do more in there. So that's a guarantee that I'll be back in the hat for sure.
Almost that learning curve the first time out, and then the second times where you can really implement some good changes and good policies and ideas.
Well, yes and no. I think you are maybe a little more shy at first and understanding more of how things work. I think I've caught on pretty much into my groove now, and things are really getting excited. And I just think I want to push it further and just being game on from day one.
Well, speaking of policies and ideas and some little things being pushed, I think we will take a quick break and head over to a different part of your ward. So Councilor Bouchard and I are going to get ourselves out of the knee-deep snow and go and talk about a topical issue for this week. Cheers, see you in a second. Hello and welcome back to episode 4 of In the Wards. Here with me today, as you well know, is Councilor Ton Bouchard. And in the second part of the show at the moment, we go over a topical issue at the time. However, before we tackle that, I'd just like to ask you, tell us where we are, Don, and what was the importance of coming to do the second part here?
Well, we're just right on the fringe of Ward 4, right at Deschamps Park. So the Ward 4 basically starts here from the park, moving eastward that way. And when we were just talking earlier about why did I get into politics, and to me, it's all about the residents. And by doing so much door-to-door and talking to so many people, got to see so many issues to begin with. And in this park here, there was quite a few residents, one on the corner here, another one on the other corner, that talked about the safety around here. This park had a tremendous problem. It was busy. A lot of people.
So a good problem to have.
A brilliant problem to have. I mean, there's different fitness equipment around. There's people that were doing fitness classes, and we ended up just having a lot of people coming from outside, so being more of a community park. So we just needed to add a parking on there. So we, members of council worked hard with me to get a parking lot put in there. So we were able to put one in. Just even over there, I see a stop sign that was a little bit blocked by the bus shelter. And resident flagged that down, so we were able to adjust that. Same thing with traffic calming measures. So there were a couple streets that we were able to get things done there to slow down cars. So it's really been great to get feedback from residents, and even our topical issue of the week came from residents from Ward 4 as well.
Yes, as you say, it's all about the community involvement side, and that's the whole purpose of the council, right? It's making the day-to-day life of the inhabitants of the municipality that little bit better and easier, as well as dealing with bigger issues and some things that some other people maybe wouldn't think about. And brings us on to one of the main reasons why we're talking today, or what we're talking about today, which was a couple of weeks ago in the council meeting, you proposed some changes to the sewer rates, the way in which people are charged for their sewer use. So first of all, before we even tackle that, for those watching who might not have seen the council meeting, could you just talk to us through the way in which people are currently charged for their water and their sewage?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got a water meter. I mean, the ones who are using the facilities, of course, so they have a water meter, and you get billed for your water based on the water meter, and that's fine, but the problem is that your sewer is charged the same way. So it makes sense in the winter months like this, what comes out of your tap probably goes down the sewer. So that's a fairly accurate calculation. But in the summertime though, I mean, water consumption probably goes up 20-25%. People are out, watering their garden, their lawn. Some have a pool, wash the car, different things like that. Kids will have water fights outside. Those are all water that doesn't go into the sewers. So when you're getting billed, you're actually getting billed for the amount of water you've used, and that is the same calculation for the sewer. So there is a problem when it comes to the summer calculation where it's not being fair, where someone who uses a little more water gets double charged, gets charged for the water and gets even charged more for the sewer as well, even though it's not for the proper use. So that's where there's a bit of an issue there, and it's a resident in Ward 4 that flagged that down, and we had conversations about it, and yeah, so we're trying to see what options we can have.
And before we look at potential other options or anything of the sorts, the current system which is in place, do you know how long it's been in place for, and what was the reason for putting it in this way? I mean, there must be some kind of benefit to it, because a lot of other municipalities use a very similar charging system, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's the most common system because it's the easiest one, okay? I mean, by this one you just assume, well, it is what it is, and everyone should just pay, use water, don't use water, whatever, it is what it is, and it is the easiest to be using. So to me, it's a system that's probably been in place for the longest time, and most people don't question it. Most people don't, look at it whether it's fair or not, and the bill comes in, they pay the bill, and off it goes, right?
So you're touching on there the difference in terms of what you would like it to be. So talk us through some of the proposed changes that you're, proposing.
Well, at the last council meeting, we deferred the item just to get more information, and we got a consultant that's shared with us what other municipalities are doing, and there are a lot of different creative ways to do it. Now, at the last council meeting, what I had proposed is to say, well, if you do like the city of Windsor, they do an average of the winter months, the amount of water that you use then, and that's what they charge you in the summer. Okay, so that way you get a more truer use of your sewer that way. There's a lot of administration with that and a calculation and whatnot. So, but the consultant added a few more ideas to do as well, and that's the one that I'll be proposing tomorrow night. It's a little more simpler and still creative for that billing. For that billing of July, August, and September. Well, so that's a little more of your winter summer months that we have there. Just to give a 10% discount on your water meter bill. I mean, on the sewer bill itself, you give 10% to everyone out there. So, which takes under consideration, that at least there is some of the water that you're using that doesn't go into the sewer. So to me, it's just a fair way to say, well, we know residents are using water other than just into the sewers, so give that credit on there. So the reality is, from there, you end up with a $50,000 shortfall. So how do you pay for that? But there's 4,500 users, so when you divide that up, it ends up to be about 92 cents per month extra on your bill. So everyone should pay another 92 cents a month. And then from there, everyone gets 10% discount, though, for the summer months. So in the end, many people will end up paying almost the same thing, some barely a little bit more, some a lot less as well. The idea is just that you pay for what you're actually using. And that's really what I'm fighting for, is to say, man, it's not fair the way it is right now. Everyone is aware of it. Other municipalities are aware of it as well. And some of them are doing different things as well. So this is one way that I'm proposing. And I'm hoping other members of council, if that's not the idea they like, if they have other ideas, the reality is we are, I find, taking advantage of people. And I don't think it's fair the way we're doing it. I think there are better ways of doing it. I've brought 3 different ideas to council, so at least I'm working towards it to try to get something that's a little more fair. And hopefully we can come to something like that so that residents are at least paying for what they're actually using. So.
Before we move on a little bit more with what you've just suggested there towards the end, I'd like to go back to the beginning of the first part of your answer, which was Windsor, you said, is one of the only municipalities really close enough to us that uses a different system. Am I correct in saying?
Well, Windsor does it, and it's a little more drastic in the way they do it. Like, it's really an average calculation. The city of Toronto, what they do is they'll actually charge you 86% of what your water bill is. So they've actually accounted for 14% throughout the year that doesn't go into the sewer. So that's the way they're calculating it. Other people will, municipalities have a top where there's a freeze on your max, like they'll bill you up to a certain point, and then from that point they stop billing you for it, just to account for the summer months. So there really is a list of ways to do this. So the one that I'm proposing has minimal impact on people, and I don't think people will save huge amounts of money, and at the same time no one is going to see their bill go up super high. I mean, when we're talking about the max that you can pay is 92 cents more a month. That's the max that you would pay. And there really aren't too many people who would actually pay the max. So to me, it's just reworking it so that it's more true. So you'll really end up paying for, or a lot closer to paying for what you actually use in the summer months. So to me, that's what it is.
So this increase per household would be more on like the fixed tariff, would it, rather than on the metered
Exactly.
tariff?
So on your fixed rate, you would start with 92 cents more a month, but at the same time, every user, whether you're a large user, medium user, or small user, would get a 10% discount on the water for your billing time from July, August, and September. So everyone pays more, and everyone gets a discount. And that idea, again, is just to end up to pay for what you're actually using. So that's part of the calculation. And like I said, this Toronto is doing the same types of things, and other municipalities are doing these things as well. But the most common is to just leave it as is and just do it and, get people to pay. And okay, well, we know it's not perfect, but hey, it's not perfect, and that's it. And to me, that attitude, well, it's not perfect, but let's just go with it anyways, I have issues with it. So that's why I'm bringing it up.
And like the other side to it is, of course, when we're talking, even though not a huge number, is the fact that we're asking everyone to pay more money so that big users who arguably can afford to pay more things because they have a swimming pool, they have a bigger lawn and whatever, we're asking every other user to pay a little bit more so they can pay less. So what would you say to the argument that sort of says that that's not a fair system either?
Well, that's where I have a bit of an issue, because we automatically assume that because you have a pool, that you are suddenly a rich person and that you could afford all this. Now, I have a resident who his summer bill for the sewer is $700. Okay, last year that's what it was, $700, and his fall bill for October, November, December, $232. So that's the gap from $700 to $232. So to me, it's not even close, right? And it might be an extreme case for that particular resident, but you'll see other residents like that as well. And I was speaking to a single mother in Ward 3. She's single mom, 3 kids. She bought a house that has a pool in there because she wants to be able to have activities with her kids, and the kids like the water fights and all that. And in the end, she ends up being billed quite a bit as well. She's by nowhere near rich, but she does have a pool because she wants her kids to have a good summer. And then we're saying, oh, you're rich, you could afford it, and it really isn't the case. I mean, it's a total generalization of, well, the rich people can afford it, and at the same time, even if you're rich, they're okay to pay for what they use. No one wants to be taken advantage of, and the water, they get billed for the amount of water they use, okay? And that's fair. You use more water, you pay more for it, and that's fine. But for the sewer, though, that's not what it is. So if water conservation is the other argument to it, to say, well, if we're charging less for the sewer, then, it doesn't encourage people to save water. Well, if that's the true argument, then we can do something about the water billing. You could have blocks that escalate. You use this much cubic meters, you pay this much. You use more, the rate goes up, and if you use more, then the rate goes up again. So if water is what you want to save and you want to work on that, well, there's other policies that we can make for that. But I just think we're taking advantage of people with the way the sewer billing is made. That's my opinion.
And you're saying about the 50,000 shortfall and trying to make it up, which leads into this calculation of slightly less than $1 a month. Where do these numbers come from? How was that calculation done?
The treasurer just made the calculation to say if by looking at last year, everyone's bill, if you reduce that by 10% from last year, so based on last year's number, so you reduce that by 10%, then you end up with $50,000 shortfall. There's 4,500 users. Divide that number by the 400 users, and you end up with it's $11.11.
And just to backtrack a little bit here, there's a little bit, maybe I should have touched on this at first, but there's a little bit of confusion over what you are actually paying for when you pay for your sewage, right? It's not just for the sewage, there's money that goes into a fund so that the city can repair things as well, isn't there? Can you talk us a little bit how that money is used?
In the end, whatever resident watching this right now to say, oh, the city just wants to steal us and this and that, it's really not what it is, because, by law, whatever money we collect from water, whatever money we collect from sewer, that all goes back into the water fund and into the sewer fund. Water pays for water and sewers pays for sewers. We can't say, oh, we made profit with the sewers this year, so we're gonna build a new park, or we're gonna pave more roads. You can't do that. That money needs to go back. So it really is, I mean, we call it the sewer bill and we call it the water bill, but in the end, it's kind of that big trust fund for the water system and the sewer system that goes in there. So in the end, the same amount of money needs to go in there. And to me, it's just, I find that the system isn't fair right now. So the same amount of money is still going to go in, but I just think we could do it better ways. And I invite other members of council to have other creative ideas if they want, just to make this more fair.
And Donna, just as we come to the end of this episode, if it doesn't move forward now, what are you hoping to achieve with it?
Well, I think, I mean, and it goes back to when we were talking about the professional life, you know, and being a professor in social work, and to say, you know, being out there in the municipality and listening to people and trying to make things a better place, and to have a fair world that we live in. So I will always listen to residents. I will always look at new ideas. And again, like, you know, the idea from 2 weeks ago to follow a more of a Windsor system, people were not liking this one. So we're back this week with another new creative idea to how else we can do it. So to me, it's, if there's no appetite for this particular situation right now, well, maybe we find other things, but at least we'll have our ears open, we'll have our eyes open, and it'll be good conversations with other municipalities. And maybe down the road, we find another municipality that tries something and that works well. Maybe we go into a pilot project. Maybe this is something that we can try just for Ward 4. And let's see how it works. Let's see what the feedback from the residents is. We'll try it for a year. And if it doesn't work well, if residents don't enjoy it this way, go back to the old system. I mean, those are all options that we can do. I just think that we can be very creative with how we do business, instead of the old business of, well, I mean, let's just leave it this way. You know, it's not perfect, but hey.
Yeah, and obviously the issue with that is always finances, isn't it? It's how much it costs to change things. So Don, thank you so much for your time today, and thank you very much for watching this latest episode. If you have any opinions on anything that's been said, please do share them with myself, with TVC22, with the council as well, as it's your voice that matters the most. And Don, I'm sure we'll catch up about the sewage issue in a couple of weeks and months' time as it progresses a little bit further. So thank you very much for joining us, and please tune in next week as we speak to Councillor for Ward 5. Bye.
Come on, Thomas.
Thanks for clearing it, Don.
No problem.
Oh, it's so tough.
That was a great idea.
I love it, really. I love it.
You're loving Canada. I love it.